ready to branch out, to take a leap of faith, to love yourself and others fully? Then let go of whatever no longer serves you to take action now on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Erica will energize and excite you to power up your passionate dream that sets your soul on fire. With Erica's E3 approach, equipping, empowering, and enlightening yourself so you can be yourself for yourself. Get ready and get rooted to live a life without regrets, without what ifs, without should haves, and especially without empty feelings from a life unexplored. This hit show helps you build powerful and intentional roots to live it up, love it up, and let it go. Get fearlessly ready and powerfully rooted in your yes with your host, Erica Gifford Mills, and be fearless about your more and stand in your yes. Now on Get Rooted Radio.
Welcome, everyone. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. A big shout out and a happy new year to my producer today, Nat. Nat, thank you so much. And how are you doing?
I'm doing great today, Erica. Glad to be here. Happy New Year. And I'm excited to learn about money in today's topic.
Definitely. So today's episode is titled Creating Wealth and Abundance, an Entrepreneur's Wealth Blueprint. And many entrepreneurs have a love-hate relationship with money. I'll be honest, I do, finding themselves trapped in a cycle of undercharging and over-delivering for their services. And I think we all have that when you're an entrepreneur, you're like, I don't want to charge too much because I want to get clients, but they are sick and tired of inconsistent cash flow, trading dollars for hours, compromising their well-being and time freedom, and feeling overwhelmed. And if you are an entrepreneur, this show is for you. If you crave more impact, influence, and income, you are not alone. Creating wealth and abundance is part of this episode's guest's spiritual mission. We all have a wealth blueprint based on our identity, our belief system, and from the messages and experience we received very early in our lives about our ability to receive, earn, save, and spend money. Unfortunately, many of those messages were disempowering and limiting. Why is this important? Because how we do money is how we do everything. If you are ready for a transformational breakthrough in your relationship with money, this episode is definitely for you. Unfortunately, many of those messages really underestimate our value. So this year, we can look dramatically different from the previous one when you decide to play in the highest level, creating wealth in your lifestyle and business. So my guest today, Carmen, helps her clients uncover the power of their money mindset, rewrite their rules to up-level their money blueprint to have an abundant relationship with money and spark intentional wealth creation. Because now is your time. But I want to tell you a little bit about my guest. Carmen Krumpquist is Master Money Mindset Business Mentor. And that is a mouthful, but she is a keynote speaker who helps heart-centered coaches and thought leaders crack their money code to create confidence, cash, and time freedom, all while aligning with their divine purpose. With a rich background that includes 3 decades of executive coaching, leadership, intentional speaking, and writing, Carmen's work is a beacon for entrepreneurs aiming to transcend financial barriers to redefine their relationship with money and really create that meaningful impact and legacy. She holds the belief that when one has clarity about their true intentions, they can live their truth and own their worth at the highest levels. As president of Intentionally LLC, Carmen is based in Hudson, Wisconsin, way up north in Wisconsin, and also in Florida. She holds a master's degree in counseling, psychology, and coaching certifications in business, executive leadership, personal branding, the law of attraction, and career life management. Carmen is also a theta healing and energetic, magic transformational healer and a John Maxwell certified coach. She has the utmost experience, and I'm so happy to have her on the show today. Thank you so much, Carmen, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. This is my first podcast of the new year, and I'm just thrilled to have the opportunity to speak to your audience today.
And I'm happy to have you on because during today's episode, we're going to discuss overcoming disempowering money stories, how to manifest money, rewriting your money rules, and up-leveling your wealth blueprint and self-concept. But I want to first begin with overcoming that disempowering money stories. So can you share an example of a disempowering money story you've personally overcome or helped a client transform?
Can I do both?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
I think that's important.
I'll start with me because, we all sometimes major in our own problems, right?
Yes.
And I grew up on a farm in West Central Minnesota. I'm here today from Dunedin, Florida, so I'm in my Florida time of the year. But where I grew up on a farm, and I was the oldest of 3 children, and everything revolved around hard work. And the disempowering belief that I came away with is that I was only worthy of receiving money if I struggled long enough or worked hard enough to, quote unquote, deserve it. And that led to a lifetime of working 3 jobs, just constantly hustling nonstop. And when that changed was about 10 years ago was the shift. And it was through a big transformation in my life where one of the 3 of those jobs went away. And suddenly I was left with only my private practice. And I really had to confront those early beliefs that I had that were very disempowering about money. And when I took on the role of a theta healer, which I can explain a little bit more later what that means, I became more aware of my own subconscious patterns. And my pattern, my wealth blueprint was this: I'm never enough. I'm not worthy. I'm only worthy if I work really, really hard to earn it. Otherwise, I don't deserve money. But I want to share with you just an example of a client that had an interesting experience with money, because many of these beliefs exist on the subconscious level, and people are not always aware of what's bubbling under the surface. And this guy was my chiropractor who came to me because he's like, just there's money coming in, money going out all the time. And as we did some digging, which is a little different than coaching, because we get addicted to our stories. We get a dopamine hit from our stories. And so I want to get past your story. I want to get to the root and find out what's that root belief. And he had a curse. There are beliefs on the subconscious, but there's one level of belief where oaths and vows exist, and also curses. And that was the first and only time that I've ever encountered that with a client. Whereupon marking that complete and removing that from his energetic system changed his trajectory with money dramatically.
I love that, because I think that is important to understand that we all have that subconscious. Right. And I think sometimes it's subconscious, so we don't realize it, but it's there. And if we don't feel that we're worthy of it, that affects us. So what are some of the most common money stories people carry, and how do they unknowingly limit wealth creation?
The ones I hear, just if you go back to what your earliest recollections were from childhood, they're all right there. And all of them are usually from, we're programmed from birth till about age 7, in which we're in a theta state and we take in information like a fire hose. And so think back to what your parents said about money. The ones I hear, money didn't grow on trees, or, people often heard in church, money is the root of all evil. as they were passing around the collection plate, wanting you to donate to their church or whatever. People with money stories or fears that they're going to become like a greedy or selfish person, that they'll become unethical. There are often fears about money, or that money will just go away, or that it's not there for you, or that money is for other people. That was one that I carried because I had cousins who were wealthy. We were just, as my dad would always refer to us, the dumb farm kids, or the dumb, farm family. And it's funny how you can adopt a persona based on those belief patterns and habits and things in programming from an early age. But I watched cousins study abroad, have nice new clothing, get to travel and do things that we just always didn't have the money for. So you can identify then with a sense of lack and scarcity around money. And that's what I think people often tap into at an early age, that money is finite, money is scarce, money is for other people and not for me.
So how do these stories typically get embedded in our subconscious? I mean, I know you say it starts at an early age, but why are they so challenging to identify?
Because we carry beliefs on 4 levels, and this is really a premise of theta healing, which is part of what I do in my work. So we carry beliefs on the core level, and that is from birth to age 7. And these are all the beliefs that you took in your entire life, everything that you absorbed from authority figures, and they become part of our subconscious before we have time to challenge them. We also carry beliefs that are genetic, and these go back 7 generations on both sides of the family, from mom and dad. So what were their beliefs about money that came forward to you? We also carry beliefs on the history level, our group consciousness. So this is what we look around and believe as a society, but it also relates to past lives. Again, where you've taken oaths, vows of maybe poverty or scarcity, because it served you at one point in time. And our 4th level of belief is our soul level. And this is the you that's always been, that's here to learn and grow and expand and has soul lessons to accomplish. And so it's very difficult because we carry beliefs on all of those different levels. And, especially the ones from authority figures, because they get into our subconscious before we have an opportunity to challenge them. They're ingrained before we even say, hey, that doesn't work for me, before we have discernment. And that's why they're so tricky to identify and to remove and release. But it can be done, and I'm here to tell you how that can be done.
So before we go to break, how can someone tell the difference between a healthy caution that you've talked about around money and a limiting belief that keeps them stuck?
I think how you feel in your body. And is a thought around money heavy or light? Because we often have a sense of restriction about money. Just like being on a diet, when you restrict yourself, there's an energy about feeling guilty about spending money. And so we get into these patterns of feast and famine that are very unhealthy. So we can have a caution like, hey, maybe that's a short-term gratification that will not allow me to get to my long-term financial goals. But there are other things that are more fear-based and limiting.
Yeah.
And just being aware of which are which for you.
And I think that's an important concept. Let's get into that when we get back. But let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how to manifest money. But before we go, Carmen, tell folks how they can connect with you.
You can reach out to me at intentionalityconsulting.com, by email, cjkrupquist@yahoo.com. My phone number is 651-497-7178. So you can text me. And you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And soon a YouTube channel.
Thank you so much, Carmen. You are listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any portion of today's episode, you can catch it on getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com. Don't forget to listen, subscribe, and receive the latest news, events, specials, and words of encouragement. Go to getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Carmen Kroonquist. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Thrilled to be here.
So during the last segment, we discussed overcome disempowering money stories. But during this segment, we really want to focus on and explore how to manifest money. So what is the first step to aligning your energy and mindset with financial abundance?
This is the exciting part. So the first part is really to understand what your dominant thoughts are about money and what is your energy around money. And the first step is really to be a gentle observer, and not be shaming yourself because you've had, stinking think in regards to money. So number one is, what are your dominant thoughts about money? What are they? Taking time to think about it, and write it down and journal it. And, because what you focus on grows. And so if you're having very disempowering thoughts about money, that grows, that becomes part of what is your reality. And so the first thing is to be aware of, what is it that you're constantly thinking? And then the next step is to really identify what you want it to be instead.
And I think that's important because sometimes folks think that journaling is just simply feelings, right? Which, yes, it is, but it's about so much more than that. It's feelings about not only self, but physical, mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, and all that is interconnected. And so I love that you said that, because that energy and how you align with your thoughts is so important. So I want to get into, how does someone balance taking inspired action with allowing money to flow in based on those feelings?
I think it's deciding again, what you want in terms of your financial reality to be, as well as your relationship with money. But then when you talk about inspired action, it's really being divinely guided. What are the hunches once you've set your intention about the kind of financial reality that you're going to create? It's making sure that your dominant thoughts and your energy are aligned with that, and that you're starting to reach, you're starting to kind of channel your dominant thoughts into what you want them to be about money. And so again, it's being aware of what they are, but what you want. And, people often focus on what they don't want. They complain about money and the lack of it, or they complain about the government, or they complain about taxes, or other people having money. And, if you're complaining about wealthy people, you're pushing that away, from you, if you're jealous or if you're worried about the tax man, because obviously creating more wealth means you're going to be contributing at a higher tax bracket, and you have to be okay with that.
Yep. And that's important, because how do emotions like gratitude and trust, because when you said, like, you're complaining about, oh, now I'm earning more money, now they're taking more taxes. So how do emotions like the gratitude and trust play a role in the manifestation process?
They're just integral to it, because gratitude is everything. Showing appreciation, even if you don't have a lot of money in your bank account right now or in your life, being grateful for what you have attracts more of what you're grateful for. It expands. And so just, nurturing and showing thanks for even a little bit of money, showing that you're a good steward of money, showing that you appreciate money. It's just like any other relationship that you need to nurture,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think that's important because it's a nurturing process, right? A great relationship always comes with energy, always comes with, you have to work at it. Nobody's ever perfect. You have to work at any relationship you have, including money. So if you are working at that, I think it's important for folks to know you have to be appreciative, you have to work for that. So what would you say to somebody who feels skeptical about really using that manifestation to improve their financial situation?
I would just say that you're always creating, always. And are you creating by design or default? And complaining is creating, you know? And so too often people go on rants about what they don't want in their life. And it's just a matter of like, we all do it, you know? We
Yeah.
complain about the weather, we complain about this, we complain about that, we complain about politics, whatever. But realizing that what you're putting out into the universe brings back more of that. So are you ranting about what you want or what you don't want? And it's really catching yourself in the moment so you can flip switch to what you want instead.
And I think that's important because you think about happiness, but what brings you happiness? And I'm not saying money can solve everybody's problems because I get it. You know, sometimes more money, more problems on occasion, right? And I say that with a grain of salt because there is a lot of people out there like, no, if I had money, I could pay off my bills, which then would be less problems. But if you manifest on how you feel about the money, right? And how you actually go about it, and the gratitude, the appreciation, that has a big part of it.
It does. Because, you know, the thoughts that you have and the words that you speak with emotion are the most powerful ones because they bring back more of what you're putting out there. And, you know, there's energy around attracting money, around having money, around spending and circulating money. There's energy around how you save, invest, and manage your money. All of those things. And so it's really being aware of, you know, what is your energy in regards to money? And how can you flip switch so that you have a better appreciation for it, that you have a better positive approach because you are worthy. You are worthy of your best life and you are creating it either by design, like I said earlier, or by default. And so I invite all of you to think about how you create by design. And, you know, if you want more money, yes, money can create problems, but it can solve problems. Money enables you to fund your mission and purpose in this world. And that's why I believe it's part of our spiritual mission to create wealth, because you have more of an ability to be generous toward the causes and things that matter to you. You have an opportunity to make a difference to the people that matter to you and to live your best life, because we're here on this journey and I believe we're here to have fun. You know, that's part of my rule. And if it's not fun, why bother doing it? And so, you know, it's money helps you create your best life and leave a legacy in the way that you want to. It allows you impact.
No, and I love that. I mean, especially because I'm currently on holiday and I think I am living my best life right now. It's sunny, it's warm, it's great. But it's important to what you said, right? To believe that you deserve it.
Exactly.
And if you don't believe you deserve it and that you're not spending and earning and saving appropriately, which we will get into next segment, so I don't want to go too far into that, but you have to believe you deserve it. And I think that's the first point, is the gratitude, right? I do deserve this. I do believe I need this. And let's move forward in that mission and being responsible in it. It's like anything in your life. You deserve, you earn, you achieve it. And if you don't believe in that, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's having a sense of certainty that money can come to you when you've put out your request to the universe in terms of what you want, and having a sense of certainty that you can allow it in, because that's where sometimes people have blocks and barriers. They have fears about money. What if I don't fit in with people anymore? What if people judge me? What if people want a handout? We talked about the tax man.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing, is to think about, what am I afraid of happening? What bad thing might happen to me? What am I afraid of if I get the money that I want? Because therein lies that block and barrier.
Yes, absolutely. And so let's take a quick break. But when we come back, what I really want to focus on is rewriting your money rules. But before we go, Carmen, tell folks how they can connect with you.
You can connect with me, Carmen Kronquist, Intentionality Coaching and Consulting, and my website is just that.com, intentionality coaching or intentionalityconsulting.com. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Instagram, and soon a YouTube channel. And you can also email me at cjkronquist at yahoo.com. And I'm going to give you my phone number right here as well, 651-497-7178. And I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Carmen. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any of the information during the last segments, go to getrootedradio.com to listen to the replay. Don't forget to subscribe, sign up for tips and special events and pricing for upcoming coaching sessions and new releases at getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Carmen Kronquist. Thank you so much, Carmen, for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So during the last segments, we discussed overcoming disempowering money stories and how to manifest money. Now I really want to talk about rewriting our money rules. So tell me, what are first money rules and how do they shape the way we earn, spend, and save?
Money rules are just like relationship rules, in that they're based on our beliefs, our habits, and our patterns, and our programming. That's really what constitutes a wealth blueprint. And when you're trying to up-level your wealth blueprint, it's really being aware of, what are those habits and patterns that I've been living. And, you really pretty much look at your bank account and how money comes to you to get a sense of how your money rules are. But sometimes people's money rules are, I just need enough to be comfortable, or money can only come to me this way if I work really hard for it. Or you could have the whole idea of overflow, where there's always an overflow of money. It's not just enough to be comfortable, but I have more than enough every month to pay my bills and have money to spend and go on vacations, like going to Cancun, or I'm going to be on a cruise later this week. So I likewise have something fun coming around the block. But it's just like a relationship, because you have a relationship with money. You're in a relationship with money 24/7 your entire life. And so it's understanding, what are the kind of rules that you've been living by? And how have they served you or not served you? Because again, that awareness is always the first key to deciding, is there something I want to change here so that I can create and manifest money more easily, so that I can open myself to attract more and have more and be a better steward of it.
And I think for that, how do people really identify, and maybe what even is an example, like the outdated, right? I say outdated or no longer serving them or limiting money rules. How do you really guide somebody to rewrite that? Because I think that's kind of ingrained in people. So how do we overcome that and move forward to where we can manifest it better?
I would suggest writing them out. What do you want your new rules to be about money? And, getting a pen and paper and just brainstorming it. How do you get to a point where money is there for you, supports you, solves problems instead of creates them, where you have a sense of comfort and ease that money is there for you and supports you. And so you really get to decide and reinforce how you want this relationship to work. But you must, just like I mentioned a little bit earlier, like any other relationship, it needs to be nurtured. You need to believe that money is there for you. You need to appreciate, we talked about gratitude already, what you already have, and give thanks for what you're bringing into your life. And embrace also more of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset in regards to money. Because even if you didn't grow up in a family where you were taught how to invest money or save money or how to grow money, you can learn. There's so much information out there now on all the different platforms, YouTube, on how to learn how to invest and save money and grow your money and have a more leveraged business. But the big thing is declaring it with emotion, because we talked about how important that is to, state your new declarations, but have emotion around it. And so I have a little formula that I'm happy to share with your audience about creating new money rules. Would you like to hear it?
I would absolutely, because I think somebody doesn't always know how to rewrite those rules because we're so fixed. And like you said, you have to have that mindset reset, that open mindset. So I think our listeners would love to hear, what is that formula?
So I'm going to have all of you who are watching out there, hopefully you have a pen and paper handy, so that you can answer these questions. So this is the what, and then we're going to get to the why, because having a powerful why, as we know, is really important. But this is a declaration that leads to a mantra. So I'm going to have you fill in the blank here. I see myself manifesting blank amount of money. Write it down.
I am personally writing this down. So listeners, grab that pen, grab that paper. What are you manifesting? What amount of money?
Right, because this is the new year. This is 2025, and we want you to have an incredibly prosperous year. So the next statement is, I see myself with blank amount of money in my bank account. And as you write it down, I want you to take a moment just to visualize that amount in your bank account. Pretend like you're, grabbing your phone and you're looking and you're scrolling to check your balance, and hey, that amount is sitting right there in your bank account. And what is the purpose? I want you to fill in the blank that this money will offer you. What do you see yourself doing with this amount of money? Take a moment to jot down like one dream you have in 2025 that you would love to do with that amount of money in your bank account. What would be exciting? What would be really thrilling for you? And then I want you to take a moment to jot down 3 emotions that having that amount of money in your bank account will bring you.
And Carmen, I don't want to interrupt. But I think that's very important, that because it's one thing to want money, right? Because I think deep down inside, yes, we all want a surplus of money, but that on why do you want it? What feelings do you have about it is so important. What will that bring you? Joy, enlightenment, relief. And so I think that is a really important part of that process. Yes,
it is. And it's also then attaching it to an identity, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I'm going to roll this in just right now, because what is your statement or mantra in regards to how you see yourself as a wealthy person? Mine is, I see myself as becoming Someone who has more money than she knows what to do with. What is yours? So take a moment to jot that down.
Yes.
And then I want you to touch your forehead. I got this from T. Harv Eker, who wrote Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I know that I'm worthy of receiving this wealth and abundance because I have a millionaire mind. And touch your forehead and reinforce this declaration and mantra right now that you just created for yourself. And then I'm going to give you the why. Because I think a really good declaration and mantra is incredibly supported by a powerful why. We all know your why is everything. Why do you believe this? Because the work I do makes a huge difference in people's lives. Because the value of the work is in the outcomes that I create for other people. That premium prices are reassuring for my clients because they create a greater commitment for better results. Premium prices mean that I can work with fewer clients and create amazing outcomes. And so, attaching your mantra to, a powerful why helps reinforce that new declaration that you're writing for yourself. So I invite you to do this. It's a great start to 2025.
So just repeat those steps for everybody. I know we went through them, but just real quick, in case you didn't catch each one of them as we went through them, repeat each of those steps real quick.
So starting with the declaration, I see myself manifesting blank amount of money. And you can also put a deadline or a date by it, by such and such date. And then, or I see myself with blank amount of money in my bank account by such and such date. And then take a moment to visualize that you're picking up your phone, you're checking your statement, your bank statement online, and that amount of money is sitting there. So then you're going to talk about what's the purpose? What do I get to do? What do I see myself doing with that amount of money? And take a moment to write that down. And then take a moment to reflect on 3 emotions that you feel that the fulfillment of those desires will bring to you in your life by having that amount of money. And then attach it to an identity. What's your identity? And I shared mine. I see myself becoming someone who has more money than she knows what to do with. Create what is yours. How do you see yourself? That's self-concept, because we're building on beliefs into a self-concept. And then the last part is tapping yourself on the forehead and saying, I know I'm worthy of receiving the wealth and abundance because I have a millionaire mind.
And that is so important because we all are worth that. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to finish out the show with a discussion on up-leveling your wealth blueprint and more about that self-concept. This is Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any of the information during the last segments, go to getrootedradio.com to listen to the replay. Don't forget to subscribe, sign up for tips and special events and pricing for upcoming coaching sessions at getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Carmen Krumquist. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Carmen.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
So during the last segments, we discussed overcoming disempowering money stories, how to manifest money, and rewriting your money rules. So during this last segment, we're going to talk about up-leveling your wealth blueprint and that self-concept that we briefly mentioned last segment. So what is a wealth blueprint and why is it really foundational for creating financial success?
So your wealth blueprint is really how you think, how you feel, how you be, how you vibe around money. I think all of the elements of a money mindset are really, there's an energy around money. Like I mentioned earlier, around having money, around manifesting money, about how you invest, save, spend money, just kind of your general feeling in regards to money. And just like any set point, we have a certain natural set point based on where we have been conditioned to be now, but that set point can be raised. And so, one of the things that I really believe helps to raise your set point is to be your future self now. And because I'm going to quote Viktor Frankl here, I think you mentioned in the intro that I'm a counseling psychologist, and one of my favorite counselors out there in the world, theorist, was Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor. But this is a quote that he states, is that we're not driven by the past, we're pulled forward by the future that we're most committed to. And so his quote is, human beings are driven by their views of their own future. And without hope in your future, your present loses meaning. And so how does that attach to a wealth blueprint? We're always vibrating at a certain level. And it's based on our belief systems and our self-concept and our programming. And so in order to change, we have to up-level that. And one of the quickest ways to do that is to up-level both your self-concept and your self-worth.
And that's important, because if we don't think we deserve whatever, right? Money, love, affection, anything out there, then we treat people, right? Or I should say we teach people how to come at us. And that
Right.
same thing is with money. And so what would be that self-concept influence? How do people really influence their ability to create and sustain that wealth? And what are the first steps for someone to expand that wealth blueprint? Because I think that's sometimes we don't know what to do. Like, okay, I know I deserve it, but what do I do next?
Yeah. So here's some steps that I would suggest to your audience. First of all, take a moment to visualize your future self 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So 2 years from now, what is your self-concept? And I mentioned, I'm in the process of becoming someone who has more money than she knows what to do with. But, we did that in the last segment. But I want you to think about now, project out 2 years. And what is your identity in regards to money? Who are you? What is the wealthy version of you? How does that person think, act, feel about money? How do you be with money? And so take a moment to reflect on that 2 years from now. And then decide that you're going to embody those qualities now. Not 2 years from now, you're going to start living that and being that. And so think about, how do you show up in the world differently? What do you focus on versus what do you take off of your to-do list? What do you remove because somebody else is doing it for you, or it's no longer part of your life? And then you decide that you're no longer available for self-shaming thoughts about money or your worthiness to have it. And I believe that shift in self-concept is truly a game changer, because you are pulled to a future self more rapidly than if you just said, 2 years from now, I want to make X amount of money. The fastest way to achieve that is to start embodying a different self-concept. So think about, how does that wealthy version of you show up in the world differently?
Yep. And I like that, because it's not fake it till you make it, right? I went to a New Year's Eve. This was so many years ago, but it was act as if. So the intent was come as if you were already the person you wanted to be. So it was the act as if. So people came, right, rolled in as whatever. And I think that's important, because if you can imagine it and you can act as if you were already there, you have that self-concept. And it's not about wearing those Louis Vuitton, right? It's about knowing you deserve it, knowing you appreciate it, and what can I do with it? So before we end out the show, how does that identity shift, such as seeing yourself in the future as whether that is the wealth creator, the CEO, the entrepreneur, owning your own business, how does that accelerate the financial breakthroughs?
Because you start aligning with the thoughts, the feelings, and the actions of a wealthy person. You start aligning and things start happening and manifesting for you more quickly. Because what you focus on grows, as I mentioned earlier. And I like this quote, your thoughts become your beliefs become your words become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your destiny. And that is so true for all of us. We're constantly creating in the moment. And so it's creating a new identity, because the true you wants to be the best that you can be. You want to be all that you can be in this world. And so, it's allowing yourself to grow and expand, because we're here as teachers, and we're here as students to everyone that we encounter in this lifetime. And so it's really about, expanding into your greater version of yourself, and expanding into that wealthier version of yourself who can have a greater impact on the causes and the things that matter most to you and the people that matter to you.
And I love that, Carmen. Thank you. That is a perfect way to end our show. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it. And I just want to say to your audience, this is your year to have health, wealth, and the time to enjoy it. So cheers to all of you.
Thank you so much, Carmen. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to Get Rooted Radio. If you missed any part of today's episode or want to listen again, go to getrootedradio.com for the podcast. And don't forget to tune in the first and third Mondays of each month at 4 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, and 2 p.m. Pacific, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. Before I sign off, ask yourself if you're living a rooted life. And if the answer is no, set up your free Empower Hour with me. No charge, no obligations. Go to getrootedradio.com to find out how I can help you take action now. And if you're ready to live, love, and let go, then my new award-winning book and companion workbook, The Rooted Life, Live, Love, Let Go, is for you. Check out the bundled deal at getrootedradio.com under the author section and order your signed copy today. One last personal message. If you are hurting or you need help, please know the world needs you. It is a better place with you in it. Don't let the hard days win. Reach out for assistance. Call or text the Chat 988 Suicide and Crisis line. It's 24/7 and the cost is free. Or text HOME, HOME, to 741-741 to reach a trained crisis counselor through Crisis Text Line, a global nonprofit and free, again, 24/7. Thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing day. Know that you are loved, and I'm looking forward to the next time on Get Rooted Radio with Eric Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Visit getrootedradio.com if you have missed any part of this hit show, and tune in on transformationtalkradio.com to live fearlessly in your more and powerfully rooted in your unlimited yes. For more information and to work with Erica directly, visit getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com, and get ready to live it up, love it up, and let it go.